Hey money moguls, welcome back to Budgeting Around the World. Today is Money Monday and I am sharing with you how I use 11 bank accounts to manage my money. Yes, 11. And I use all of them. Almost. Let's talk about it. So how did I get to 11 accounts? My junior year of college, I was stressed out. I couldn't figure out how to make sure my rent was paid and I had money for gas in my car and also be able to go shopping on Friday because I had money in the account and I felt like it. So I realized I needed to separate my money. I needed to use an out of sight, out of mind method because I would spend money on a Thursday that should have gone towards my bills on Friday. And I had no way of figuring that out. So it started with just two accounts. I had a everyday spending account and then a everything else account. And over the years, that's expanded to have very specialized accounts. So I have 11. So what is each account used for? I have one checking account just for my personal expenses. Personal expenses is anything that's not a bill, not gas, not groceries. If I want to get my hair done, I want to get my nails done, I want to go to brunch, I want to go shopping, whatever the thing, if it's not a necessity for my life and it's not travel, it's personal. I have a checking account specifically for gas and groceries, and I'm very conscious that it's groceries, not food. Food could be eaten out, it could be brunch, it could be McDonald's, food could be anything. So I separated out groceries, a necessity that I need in my life, and everything else. So if I really want to go get me a McFlurry, that's a personal expense. If I really need to have some strawberries for lunch, that's a grocery. Travel has its own account. I made sure that the bank that has my travel account does not charge international fees. So whenever I go abroad or whenever I'm traveling, that's the card that I use. And they have really great fraud protection, and I know that I'll be covered if anything were to happen to that card. But also they're not going to charge me a ton of fees just because I'm not in the continental United States. I have a checking account specifically for my car payment. This one is important right now, but once I pay off my car, I won't need this account anymore. So essentially I get a discount for having an auto pay through the bank that I have my car note with. It's a credit union and I no longer live in the state that the credit union is in, so I transfer money into that account every month to keep my auto pay discount, but that's the only thing I use the account for. I have a checking account specifically for bills. Any bill that's not my car note comes out of that account. That includes subscription services. That includes anything that comes out every single month. So Netflix, Hulu, those types of things are included, as well as my car insurance, my student loan payment. I don't have that. I'm in grad school, but you get it. I have a savings account for short-term savings. I identify short-term savings as things that I know that I'm going to have to use in the next year, but I'm not ready to use yet. So that's some travel. If I have a very specific trip that I'm planning in a year that doesn't need to be my travel account, it'll be there. Weddings, birthday parties, anything that's coming up that I know I'm going to want to spend money on or that I need to spend money on, that's where it goes. I have a savings account for short-term emergency savings. This is different than just short-term savings. So the short-term emergency savings, my goal is to never have to touch that. I want it to grow, but I don't want it to deplete. This was if, God forbid, something came up and I really, really needed some money that I didn't have allocated for whatever this was, it would come out of this fund. This short-term emergency savings account, I think, is a really crucial part of anybody putting aside money for any occasion or for anything. You want to make sure that if something were to happen, you don't have to dip into your savings for that trip that you really want to go on, or for that dress that you really want to buy, or for whatever that thing that you're saving for. You want to have separate funds specifically for emergencies, and that's what this account is for. I also have an account for long-term savings. This is anything beyond a year, and in my eyes, this is also emergency savings. The goal for this account, and it's not there yet, but the goal for this account is to have 6 months of my income, not expenses, income, in this account. So life were to happen, everything hits the fan, I'm good for 6 to 8 months because I have 6 months of income set aside. and this is easily accessible, has a little bit of money accruing, but it's not invested. I'm not going to get a tax penalty. I don't have to call a bunch of people to get my money out. This account is through an online bank, so I can't just easily transfer it. It takes a couple days, and it's a little bit of a process, but that's done intentionally, so I'm not just taking money out because it's easy to get to. So that's 8. But I have 11. What? So 3 of my accounts are just savings accounts that I'm not using. All of those accounts are with credit unions, so my membership for the credit union is connected to that account. So if I close a savings account, I can no longer have an account at the bank. So I would close both of my accounts. There's no need for me to have as many savings accounts as I have in theory. But in reality, in order for my system to work, I have to have all of these savings accounts, whether there's money in them or not. In order to manage this whole system, I only carry 1 to 2 of these cards with me at any given moment. Maybe 3 if I'm traveling, so I'll have the travel card. But typically I have my gas and grocery card and my personal spending card. Everything else is locked away because why do I need to carry it around? Why am I carrying around my bills card when I already have all of my bills coming out of that electronically? That's just tempting for me to go in and spend money that's already allocated to something else. Alright, so that's cool, great, fine, but then how do I manage the fees on all of these different banks? It's a lot happening. Well, number 1, I find banks that don't have a whole bunch of fees. The fees that banks typically charge are international travel fees, bank service fees, and ATM fees. So the international service fee, I know that the one that my travel account doesn't charge them. I don't know about the other banks, but I don't use the other banks. And I specifically chose that account because they don't charge fees for international travel. The account service fees, usually with account service fees, you have to meet some type of a requirement to get out of that service fee. So I have one bank that has an account service fee. If you don't hit X number of transactions, I don't know what the number is, but that account is my bills account. So I have a bunch of transactions coming out of that every month, so I always hit the threshold and I never have to worry about it. For all of the other banks, they don't have the monthly service fees. Again, most of my banks are credit unions, so that's one of the benefits of credit unions, that they typically don't have the monthly fees that the big banks have. And then for ATM fees, I don't really use ATMs a whole lot, so this isn't a big issue. But I'm almost always in a city that has at least one of my banks in an ATM if I really, really need to. I also have one bank that will refund me up to a certain number of ATM purchases per month for the fee. So that's a great perk that I don't really take advantage of. But if I really need to take money out and I didn't have access to one of my banks, I could go to any bank and know that I'm going to be reimbursed for the couple of dollars. Alright, so Amber, do you really need all of these accounts? Like, come on, bro. Yes, I do. At this moment of my life, right here today, I need 11 bank accounts. Do you need 11 bank accounts? I don't know. Do you? I don't think that everyone should go open 11 bank accounts. I'm not recommending that. I didn't start out with just a whole bunch of bank accounts. I started out with 2. And then that 2 has grown and developed, and now it's 11. I do think that you should separate your everyday expenses from your bills. Why would you risk that chocolate bar that you really want at the gas station making your account overdraft, or your car payment bounce because you bought a candy bar? So for me, that makes sense to definitely separate your everyday expenses from your bills. Beyond that, that's a very personal conversation to have with yourself and figure out, does this make sense for me? Do I need to separate my money? How does this work? Alright, so I don't necessarily think you should have 11 accounts tomorrow. I do think that you should consider having all these different types of accounts if you look at this option. 1, you need to have a savings account that is difficult to access. That might be an online savings, that might be through a brokerage firm. Whatever the case may be, you don't want to be able to just click a button in an app and have your money in your account in 30 seconds. It's way too easy to just move the money and not be saving. So I make it really difficult to get to my long-term savings. And so you want to have an account that's difficult to access. You want to have at least one local bank or credit union. Why? They typically have little to no fees. They have really great customer service most of the time. And if you ever needed to purchase something with debt, a credit card, a car payment, a house payment, they typically have much better loan systems. You want to have one large national bank that has ATMs everywhere. So if you are traveling in some other part of the country, you can get to an ATM. Even in some other parts of the world, they recognize those big banks, and you want to be able to get to your money if you really need it. And if you travel often, you do need a card that does not charge international travel fees. Those fees will add up and wreck your travel budget. So keep in mind, if you have significant other, kids, joint accounts, a bunch of other things happening that I don't have, that will impact this plan. That doesn't mean that this won't work. You just want to take that into account when you look at your own personal circumstance. So with that, happy Money Monday, moguls. I appreciate you for coming to hear about my crazy 11 bank accounts. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know how many accounts you have. Tell me I'm not crazy out here. If you have more than me, tell me, please.